Welcome to Run With It, BC's only running fitness and health program. Back on Doctor's Corner, we talked to Dr. Lucas MacMillan about exercise performance and stress management tips. But first, let's go to our Run With It lifestyle moment of our coverage on the Leo Awards. Check this out. Congratulations on your nomination for Best Guest Performance.
Thank you.
What does it mean to you, Camille?
Well, every year, Walter DeRoche and Sunny Wong do this amazing event that pulls the whole community together. I'm just so proud to be a part of it. I'm so proud to be nominated. We have an extraordinary community here. It's so much talent, and it's so nice to see people come together to celebrate. So that makes me happy.
Congratulations to you both on your Snake Marked. And what was it like working together? You're old friends, right?
Oh yeah, we go way back.
We go way back, yeah.
We've actually worked together as actors many times. I've lost count of how many, but this was my first time really getting to direct this guy, and it was a real treat. He commits to everything he does, and he really brought it.
It's very kind of you.
Yeah, buddy.
Juan is a great director to work with because he just gets you into it. He pushes you.
We almost got in a fist fight at one point, but nothing. It didn't escalate too much, and I think that the rawness shows up on camera. So.
Well, I think I broke my hand.
Yeah.
I removed a prop, which you shouldn't do as an actor, and he came in and was like, "Why did you move that?" And I don't really know why I did, but.
I'm not a tyrant. It was just I was very particular about that prop.
Well, I think you got the take.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
Welcome and congratulations on your beautiful designs.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
So tell us about the designs.
The designs, there's different. Each one is different. Each one tells a cultural story. This one here is about the murdered and missing Indigenous women. So I created the red dress. It's a hummingbird, and the hummingbird represents that your loved one has come back. So when they flutter around you and they come around when you're out in your garden, that's the hummingbird, the people from the other side coming to tell you they're okay. And so that's why I created the hummingbird for that particular one.
It's fabulous. Congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
And it's Best Performance.
Best supporting performance in a feature. Yes. Yeah, for Kingsway.
Kingsway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how did it feel working on Kingsway?
It was great. I mean, it was the fourth time that I've worked with Bruce Sweeney, the director, and I just feel like at this point, we've been working together for, I guess, a decade, and we kind of have a shorthand, like I know what to expect, and I love the way he works. It's really organic, it's super collaborative. He always writes really interesting characters, and it feels like coming home, every time I do work with him.
Tracy, how are you?
Fantastic. It's been a very busy year.
Yes. And congratulations on the nomination for producer.
Thank you. It's very exciting. We have 10 nominations for our film Kingsway, so we're very proud. Very proud.
What drew you to produce the Kingsway?
Well, my background is a lot of business affairs work, and it's just people you meet and the contacts you develop, and it just develops that way. It's not like you just go out and look for a producing job. Things come to you based on who you know and the work that you do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
20 years for Crazy Eights.
So how did the idea come about? Tell us about Crazy Eights. I know it's a long 8-hour film, but...
Well, it started with Richard Stevenson at the Seattle Film Festival seeing a similar contest. He got the idea to bring it up here, so he pitched it to the DGC BC, and they ran with it. Andrew Williamson there then started it. That was 20 years ago. So since then it's grown, and we've had hundreds of applications, and 115 filmmakers have made their film so far, and we now have the biggest single audience turnout for a single night film event of the year. So it's gone from 30 people at the screening to almost 1,800.
Wow, that's just awesome. But how does it feel you're inspiring student, filmmakers. How does that make you both feel?
Well, warm glow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to help emerging filmmakers make their films there's no better feeling, really. I mean, we kind of feel like proud parents sometimes, and then we're in the trenches with them other times. We have an incredible board and an incredible community that actually all of Vancouver rallies around these filmmakers. So it is really a collective experience, and so I don't know how to top that, really.
And goodbye from the red carpet in Vancouver at the Leo Awards. See you next time. Joining me is a very special guest, Dr. Lucas MacMillan, and he's a naturopathic physician, and he's here today to talk about exercise performance and stress management techniques. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Lucas MacMillan.
Yes, hello. So good to be back.
Boy, I'm interested in this topic, exercise performance and stress management tricks. So tell us about the bigger picture, whether you're a beginner runner or a seasoned runner, what are some things that we should look for, like programs, types of programs?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, there is a big difference depending on what level you are at. If you're a seasoned runner or seasoned athlete versus somebody who's stepping into it or training a little bit less intensely, you're going to have very different requirements. So some of what we talk about is going to be very specific toward the higher end, and some of it you can apply to anyone, because if you try to increase your carbohydrate intake, try to increase your electrolytes, try to increase your proteins, but you're not working that hard, you're actually giving your body more than you need, and it's more likely to work against you. So there's a little bit of catering that we need to do to be sure that everyone's getting what they need and not getting a whole bunch of things that they don't. So first step, that's definitely what I like to focus on. The food that we eat and the exercise that we get our requirements are different person to person. So let's say we have, say, another woman like yourself who's in your same age bracket, same level of health, same degree of training. Her needs will likely be a little bit different than yours to find that sweet spot of really performing well. So there is a little bit of variability. But for the purposes of giving everybody something, we'll try to stay broad strokes, and then encourage experimentation. Try it for yourself and see how it feels. Go from there.
But it's like when you're in training mode, you want to have a balanced eating habits or what have you. But before race day, you should test. Like a banana may not agree with you before a training run or a race, so you should test drive.
Absolutely. Yeah, race day is not a good time to first time anything, whether it's a new technique or trying to change your heel strike. Any specific tweak on race day is really not a good idea. It's risky. I mean, it has a chance to potentially help you out, but it has an equal chance of really taking away from your experience and creating injury. I mean, on race day, you're more likely to push through if it hurts, right? So it's nice to try new things on different days so you can actually slow down and accommodate your body. It gives you an opportunity to listen to your body.
And that's the key, listen to your body. And what about protein intake? Like, I'm a beginner runner. What should I be taking?
Yeah, so ideally we're going to get the majority of our protein through diet. And it is possible, it's absolutely possible. Depending on what level you're training at, that starts to get a little bit harder, but it's always something that we can do. So the original, classic recommendations are 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So you can calculate that out. If I weighed 100 kilograms, which is quite a bit, that would be 80 grams of protein. So similarly, the newer requirements for somebody who is more active, let's say you're doing a full body exercise, it goes up to about a gram per pound of body weight. That is a huge increase. So you go from, say, 80 grams of protein up to, 220 grams of protein in a day. So the total protein intake is what we want to look at. And honestly, to find that out, you either have to work with a dietitian or go onto a fitness tracker type of app, something that allows you to actually see how much protein you're getting in and to work from there. But typically speaking, the sweet spot is going to be between 0.8 grams per kilogram up to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So we have to work that out for ourselves, because obviously you and I weigh very different amounts. So our intake is going to be quite different.
And as we age too, right? And when we start running and we may be out of shape or a little overweight, but we're thinking, I'm running, but I'm not losing any weight. Why is that? Yeah. It's because of the calorie intake and not eating the right foods or...
Very often, yes, exactly. I mean, barring other medical conditions, your thyroid can affect that. I mean, the way your body is breaking down foods can affect that. There are some metabolic disturbances, such as diabetes, that can obviously play in. So it's good to rule those out and just basically, some simple testing to be sure that's not something that's affecting you. But if you're doing everything right, if you have a calorie deficit for the food that you're taking in versus the exercise and the energy that you're putting out, you should expect to lose or at the very least maintain your weight. You know, a true calorie deficit, you have to lose weight. There are some things that can affect that, but in an average, healthy human being, that's the way it typically works.
And what about, we talked about apps, calorie apps. Those, in your opinion, what do you think?
They're a short-term. I really don't feel it's a good long-term tool, partly because it encourages us to focus so much on our diet and so much on we're putting so much time into that program that we're losing touch with what we're eating, with what we're doing. Like it's that same problem of being, you know, in a coffee shop and seeing everybody playing on their phone. I think it pulls you away from what's important, and it doesn't allow us to spend time on what we should be doing. Like eating should be something that we do naturally, easily, but to reprogram that, to pull you into a healthy habit, I think apps are great for that because they can show you what you're eating, how much of each nutrient, and give you a baseline from which you can change, and then try to change more naturally. You know, over time, you can look again to see exactly where your levels are, but I really don't think long-term it's something that serves us. That's my opinion. People will disagree with me there, but I really strongly feel that a natural progression toward healthier eating is possible once you have that baseline. You don't need that information to that same extent.
And it's
then you listen to your body.
And it's mindful eating.
Yeah.
Yes. And what about electrolytes, or energy drinks, I should say?
Yeah. It's a big topic, and that's another thing that is, the higher level you are, the more you're going to need these things. If you're going for a 45-minute, exercise that isn't too intense, your requirements don't really change. So this is something that will add more to your body that you don't necessarily need. It's not likely to hurt you, but there are more calories in energy drinks or in electrolyte drinks. And obviously there's food coloring and many other additives that we don't necessarily need in our body. So if you are exercising beyond, give or take, that 45 minutes, then the electrolytes are more likely to be of benefit for you. Or if you're exercising very intensely and you sweat a lot, then you're losing these electrolytes. Then it makes sense. You're going to be losing sodium, potassium, chloride. You're going to be losing glucose. You're going to be burning through it. Replacing those makes sense. Those make sense to replace. A lot of the other things kind of don't. You don't have a deficiency of red food dye, for example. That's never going to be a thing. So if you really want to use them, I recommend making your own.
How? Wow, make your own.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another thing that's very easily Googleable, but one of the easiest ways, what I recommend to people is that if you look at something like, say, the Gatorades, the Powerades, and the various products out there, you can look at the amount of sodium, the amount of potassium, the amount of ingredients in there, and you can calculate this for yourself. It's quite easy. If I would have thought of this in advance, I could have actually had a formula. I basically direct people to one of the resources I have, but you can build these yourself. Yeah, have the right amount of salt. You have a little bit of sugar in there to keep you going long term.
Wow.
I recommend branched-chain amino acids in there as well. People seem to be doing well with it.
That's good information. Just Google it, right?
Yeah.
Make your own. But what are other ways to improve your performance?
Well, there's quite a few. So again, depending on your level, there's different options, but sort of broad strokes for anyone who is pushing in the endurance direction. So if you're trying to last longer, either for a run or type of exercise that encourages you or that requires you to be performing over a longer period of time, caffeine is one of the better sort of studied and known. Interesting sort of addition with that, caffeine and theanine. So L-theanine is something that's found in green tea. So anytime you drink green tea, you're getting caffeine as the upper and theanine that helps to work as basically like a downer or as a stabilizer. It helps to decrease that sort of spinning or jitteriness that you can get from caffeine. So you can get the benefits of the focus from caffeine, the benefits of that perceived increased energy, perceived decreased exertion, and the theanine helps to decrease the anxiety or that buzz that comes with it. So many people, it helped to balance them out. So typically the dosing is going to be about the same amount of milligrams of caffeine versus theanine. So 200, for example, is probably a common thing. Some people go higher. Start to get questionable as you go really high, but I would recommend starting low and experimenting yourself, see how you feel. So for endurance athletes, that's one of the directions we can go. Branched-chain amino acids I think, is underutilized and not super well understood. It's one of the things that, for endurance athletes, seems to help keep that mental clarity and focus alive. So if you're including branched-chain amino acids during the run, you can likely go further. I mean, the research that we have on it suggests this is actually a simple benefit to longer endurance athletes. To our power lifters, a little bit of a different approach.
Yeah.
So probably the best studied are your whey proteins. Creatine, like the closer you are to that single powerful lift, as opposed to the endurance. If you're just doing short, intense exercise bouts, something like creatine can be a significant benefit for you. And a newer one I'm experimenting with more is beta-alanine. Yeah, so it's an amino acid that causes kind of a tingling down the extremities if you take a high dose of it. It's not a harmful thing, but it's something that people feel. I find that typically my power lifters love to feel it, so they actually enjoy that part. But it can decrease the lactic acid in your muscles to increase performance for a short amount of time. It's kind of a cool trick. It's one of many tricks that we can use for that powerlifting. So if you haven't tried it, that's something to potentially experiment with, ideally starting low and building up.
And that is like BCAAs?
No,
Repowers? That's different.
It's different, yes. Yeah, so branched chain amino acids are different than, say, beta-alanine. Yeah. Yes, it's different amino acids that can be used for different processes in the body.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's wonderful. So whey powder, protein rather, versus BCAAs. So, okay, got that. But what about, I know exercise, getting enough exercise, enough sleep. What else to improve our performance?
Well, being aware of what you're doing currently and how well it's working for you. So one of the biggest thing that slows us down and makes us more anxious about our performance is not really knowing what's going on and feeling like it's not in our control. So the more we can learn about our sport, the better we are able to feel that and truly to actually control our performance. I mean, if we understand that, again, the heel strike for running, like the proper running posture, what you're doing with your arms actually matters, pushing off with your toes actually matters. There's a number of details that can help us, and if we understand that, we can gradually build that into our program and experience that sense of control. That sense of control alone, it empowers us and gives us that mental stamina to push through. We get it, we know we can do this now. We have tools and tricks to help ourselves.
Understanding your body and where you're going, and which leads to stress management tricks.
Yes. Yes, huge need for that in today's life. If you live in Greater Vancouver, a large number of people that come to see me, when I ask for their stress levels out of 10, they're 6, 7, 8 or higher. So definitely good to have a couple of tricks in your sleeve. One of my favorites that I've been turning to more is called withania, so also known as ashwagandha. It's a herb. So this herb has been shown in small studies to decrease the perceived stress and decrease perceived fatigue in individuals using it. So pretty cool, something that we could use to decrease that stress levels, for example, from a 6 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10. I think most of us would take that option. So I can't guarantee it'll work for everyone, but it's worth a shot. There's no real reason not to. The risks are pretty low. It's not necessarily designed to be used long term, so it's something that you would try on and off as needed, but very cool tool to use. And relating to exercise, it also decreases perceived fatigue when you're actually doing your exercise. So that's good. Mid-run, if somebody could tell me I'm going to turn your fatigue down from an 8 to a 6, I would absolutely take that, right? So it's worth experimenting with away from race day.
And it creates anxiety too, like race anxiety.
Yes.
Which is can be a huge problem. So,
yeah. Yes, absolutely. So a couple other fun tools, lavender oil and kava both have been studied for just kind of general anxiety uses. So they compared it to something similar to Ativan. So one of the medications that we might use for a mild anxiety disorder, for example. Kava and lavender oil have both been shown to likely be about as effective for more milder but actual real cases of this disorder. So we have options, and they're herbal options that are very simple that aren't medications. So nice to experiment with these to some extent, safely, slowly, and ideally under some degree of supervision at the very least when you're first trying it, to be sure that you're happy and healthy to begin with, so your body can handle any changes. It doesn't matter whether you're adding more protein, carbohydrates, herbs, or medications. There are actually risks with just about everything that we do in life. So just good to be aware of that.
Yes. And also too, any books you could recommend?
Yes. Yeah, so Performance Psychology, I recently finished. I quite enjoyed that. It was by the Great Courses, so I loved diving into the mental, emotional aspects of sport because it's something that really isn't as appreciated as it should be. They talk about this both for sport use and for business. Anybody who's doing presentations or who has a high stress or high demand experience, whether it's through sports or otherwise, could benefit from this kind of information. So it's another way to take control and another way to increase your output. If you understand what is potentially holding you back and you understand some of the tools to help you get there, it's going to help you advance. There's almost no other way to go. If it ends up not being information that serves you, well, you still haven't really lost anything. Information really can help us get to the next level. So I really believe that learning about what you're doing can really help you. What else here? There's a number of books. I went through a cognitive behavioral therapy on that similar topic that looks at what you're doing and logically helps you to compare how it's helping you or how it's hurting you and gives you some tools to change it. So, and can potentially encourage you to go and see a practitioner if you're not able to get yourself to where you want to be. But I found that, actually I believe that was through the great courses as well. That audiobook was just eye-opening to see what is possible and to see some of the tools that people realistically use to help themselves.
Great information, Dr. Lucas MacMillan. And people want to get in touch with you, where can they go?
Yeah, so my personal website is www.drlucasmac.com. I will always have the up-to-date information on what I'm doing on the clinic or clinics that I'm working at, and contact. So if you're interested in contacting me, you can contact me directly. I always try to keep that open. I am currently in North Vancouver, and I just purchased a clinic. So pretty cool, multidisciplinary. I very much believe that a team approach is going to help people the most. So yeah, I'm very excited to be stepping into that role and to be helping people in a new way with a team approach that's directly in one building. So, yeah,
Well,
very cool.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And we'll put the name of the books on the screen, and we'll have you come back.
Perfect. That sounds great. I enjoy it every time.
Me too. We'll be right back after this break.